the color. So what I'm going to do is go over to the color tab. Now I could adjust the base color, tip color, base color 2, and I can blend those together. But what I'd rather do is, you guessed it, use a procedural texture. So I'm going to just click on the texture editor and let's use turbulence. It worked for us for the other stuff. So what I'll do is, let's just pick a green. Now what I could do is also change this base color out here to another green, and that would give us a look something like this, which is one of the first tests that I posted online showing this example. But what I think would be better and make it a little more realistic and make it look more like the grass out in my yard is we're going to keep this this blondish brown color so we can get some variation in there. For these settings I'll keep those the same, but let's go ahead and change the scale again. And I'm just typing in random values. I mean, I used 0.2 before. I'm just using 0.3, trying to mix it up a little bit. So let me close this and let's take a look. Okay, so we're really close. We've got 5.8 seconds and we're getting a pretty nice little patch of grass. One of the things that we're going to want to do is add shadows. We've been rendering without shadows, so of course that is going to increase render time. But one thing that we can do to speed up render time when it comes to shadows is come over to the Shadow tab. Now there's various settings that we can go over in future videos, but for right now what I want to do is, instead of having it be a dense shadow that that could look for the look that I might want to go for, but instead I'm just going to lower this. The shadow's not going to be as intense, so I'm just going lower than 40 in each of those, self shadow and cast shadow, and just trying 20. So let's take a look. Of course, in order to see it with shadows, what I'm going to want to do is come over to the Render tab, Render Globals, and under the Render tab I'm going to choose Ray Trace Shadows. Just turn that on and let's take a look. Okay, so with shadows we've got 47 seconds, and here we go. We've got our thick blades of grass, and we've got the color variation in the shadows. Now there's one thing that I would like to throw in there just to kind of mix it up a little bit, and let's take a look at that, and we'll call this one finished. So what I want to do is come back over to the Geometry tab, and one thing that I'm noticing is that I've got a little bit of randomness going on with the random length, but one thing that I could also do is come over here to Tuft. Now what Tuft does is it takes the higher the value, the shorter the fibers will be around the center of each cluster. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to crank that up to 100%. Now I could randomize it with the texture, but for right now we'll just say 100%. And so what's going to happen is that in the center you're going to get tall fibers, and then out from the center of each cluster you'll get shorter fibers, which can give a really nice effect. So let's see what that's going to look like on this example. Okay, so as you can see, we've now got various random lengths going on because we have the random length, but the tuft also, let me go ahead and kill that. The tuft setting also shortened it up around the the base of each cluster coming out from the center. So I think it looks a little more realistic and gives a really nice effect. So that's just a quick example of going about creating thick grass that would be up close to the screen, so that you can get the detail that you would like using fiber effects. I'd like to leave this this little example with just a couple quick tips on a way that you can work fast when setting up your fiber effects. And I did them in this example, but I'd like to just point them out. I use the OpenGL draw function here from the get-go, so that I could get the length that I wanted and kind of the shape and get the basic idea of what was going to happen without having to ever render, which is a really nice feature of that. Now, it's not going to give you all the information that you would need to know exactly what it's going to look like in final render, but it gives you quite a bit of information there. Then the second thing that I did that I think is very useful is I did a lot of render tests without ray trace shadows without having any shadows, because again, I'm just trying to get the overall look. Now it is going, the look is going to change with shadows, of course, but so is the render times. And as you can see, the render times weren't that bad for 150,000 fibers. We can see right here. I don't believe the render times were too shabby. I was pretty happy with the render times, but as you could see, it jumped up when I added shadows. Still not bad, but I was able to move much faster and change my settings. Normally, I would get even the tuft in there and things like that before I'd ever turn on shadows, just so that I get the basic look that I'm after. Once you have that, turn on shadows, do little minor tweaks, and you're good to go. So that should speed up the process of creating the look you're after without having to wait for renders, even if they are under a minute. Sometimes even waiting for a 20-second render is like watching paint dry when you're the one watching the render wait. So there you go, a couple quick tips and look at creating thick grass with fiber effects.